What's up guys? I'm Cash Me Out. This is my first ever poker vlog. I'm very excited to be sharing it with you guys. The game is 1-3. It's a home game. There's lots of action, so let's jump right into it. The first hand we get dealt is Ace-4 of clubs. Alright, we're in the hijack. My starting stack is 560 before this hand. There's a $6 button straddle. It's unopened to me, so I bump it up to 20. We get 2 callers from the button and the small blind. Alright, and the flop comes 2 of hearts, 5 of hearts, and the 6 of spades. We got a couple of backdoor straight draws with the 4 of clubs, and 1 overcard to the board. It checks to me and I bet 25 into 60, mainly as a feeler bet. I don't really need to go too big with that, but I also don't want to go too small. So I felt like 25 was the right amount to bet as a feeler bet and to fold out any hands that may have like missed the flop or didn't really connect with it at all. So the button folds and the small blind calls. Now with 110 in the pot, the turn comes a 7 of hearts, completing the front door flush draw, bringing in any straight draws that would have called on the flop, also any 1 pair hands on the flop, and it could have just turned into 2 pair hands. So when the small blind checks to me, I quickly check it back for some pot control. So with the river coming in the 8 of clubs, it breaks out any sort of ace high or king high flush draws from the turn, and it gives us the baby end of a straight. It improves us, so now we beat any 2 pair combinations, 1 pair combinations. Obviously we still lose the flushes and any 9 that would have for some reason made it to the river at this point. So when the small blind leads out for 25 bucks into a $110 pot, it gives me a really good price to bluff catch. So that's just what I do. I snap it off, and the small blind shows us ace-5 offsuit with the ace of hearts. So we end up winning a $160 pot. Okay, so next hand we got king of spades, jack of diamonds in the hijack. There is an under the gun straddle for 6, and before we go into the hand further, I do want to mention that the player on the button does have a tendency of squeezing quite large when there are multiple limps on the table, and I know them to be doing that with honestly any 2 cards in their hand. So with that said, we have a chip stack of about 600 before the hand, and it does limp all the way around to me. I elect to limp as well, mainly because I expect the button to be putting in a large squeeze. It's just that I haven't made my decision on whether or not I intend to 3-bet the button or just flat. It would really depend on the action after the button for me to make my decision. So again, I just limp, and the button does squeeze for about $60. And he gets 2 callers. So it's over to me, and since there is already about 200 in the pot, for me to 3-bet this, I would have to honestly just pot it, in my opinion, and it would be committing a large portion of my stack for just a king high offsuit hand, and I just don't think it's the right candidate to do that. I don't think it's strong enough to do that, and given the fact that I am in a later position, I elect to just call here, and the cutoff calls behind me, and we go off to a flop with about 300 in the middle. So the flop comes king of diamonds, 9 of spades, 6 of clubs, giving us top pair with an okay kicker. There's not much to be worried about here, although given the pre-flop action, it is possible that someone might have a set of 6s or a set of 9s. And although unlikely, someone could possibly have us out-kicked here with a pair of kings, you know, king-queen, ace-king maybe. But again, unlikely, so not much to be worried about. It does check around to the button, who was the pre-flop aggressor, and he does check it back, so everyone gets to see a free turn. So the turn is the 8 of clubs, bring in a flush draw. A couple straights get there, like 9-5, which is incredibly unlikely. 10-7 being more likely in this situation, but again, it's not really something I'd be worried about. Given the disinterest in the flop, I think a pair of kings would be best here, although I would still maybe be worried about the kicker, but again, it's the decent kicker. I think it should be fine in this spot. So anyway, it checks to me, and I put a third of a pot-sized bet of 110. The cutoff in the hijack and sorry, the cutoff and the button fold, middle position 1 folds, and then middle position 2 tanks for a while. Tanks, really wants to call, makes it evident, but obviously makes it obvious that he doesn't have a winning hand, he just wants to draw, and he ultimately folds. Now he pays to see the river, and the river was the 7 of clubs, giving him the gutter to the straight, so we're happy he folded, because we would have lost quite a decent pot there, and you can hear his reaction now.
Fucking punish me.
Punish.
Oh, you
I hate this.
Show your pocket 10.
Put that on video.
Show your pocket 10 to him.
I hate this place. Fucking
Show the
Luke.
10. Yeah.
What?
10.
Fuck, why do I do it? I was 60% gonna call just to.
Thanks, Luke.
Dude, thank you. We got him.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got
You was checking. Oh, you. Thank you.
I'm loving it. Cash me out. No.
The very next hand, we play a PLO double board bomb pot. Every player puts in $5, and we get to see a flop for free. Well, 2 flops technically. There's 10 of us, and we get dealt ace of diamonds, 5 of spades, queen of hearts, and 5 of diamonds. And the flop comes on the top board: 7 of diamonds, 5 of clubs, 4 of clubs, giving us middle set. But we're not really too happy about it because a lot of straights hit. There's flush draws, just super wet, and we hit second pair with a pair of queens on the bottom board. But we also have ace 5 of diamonds, which means that we do have backdoor outs for flushes on both boards. So we are at least going to be seeing a turn here. We're not going to be too aggressive on the flop because, like I said, although we have middle set on one board, we only have second pair on the second, and we're not that strong currently. So when middle position bets 15, it's followed by 4 callers, including us, on the button, and hopefully we can see some improvements here on the turn. Okay, so the turn comes in the 6 of diamonds up top and the king of diamonds on the bottom. Obviously on the top board we're losing to a lot more hands now, a lot more draws get there, and with 5 players in the hand, you can expect that at least one of them has a king on the bottom board, so we're not really playing for the bottom board, to be honest. But the one thing that is going to allow us to continue here, depending on the action obviously, is the fact that with 2 diamonds on both boards, we now have the nut flush draw on both boards, and additionally to that, another 4, 6, or 7 up top will give us a boat on the river. So when the player to my left pots it for 135, there is 1 caller after him, so that means that the price is generally good for us to see a river. So that's what we do, is we call and we're off to the river. Yes! The river comes in the 7 of spades, pairing the top board, giving us a boat. We're kind of happy because we beat all straights, although we do still lose to some 7x hands like 7-4, 7-6. Although the 3 7s out there, it is kind of unlikely. So again, we're not that worried. We lose to pocket 6s maybe, but again, not worried. We have a really good hand up top, and we don't really care too much about the bottom, but we do have second pair as insurance with ace kicker. So with that said, the player on my left immediately pots it, and that pretty much just means that he's all in for a bit more than $300. The player on my right, he does put in the call for less, and we have an easy call here. I know we're not supposed to be calling off just to chop the top board or just to chop one board in general, but in this case, with me putting the money in, that's 3 players, which means that even if we do chop, we are earning a bit of profit here. So that's what we do. We put the money in because we have a boat on the top and a bit of insurance on the bottom, and we're gonna see what happens next.
Boat on the bottom. Yeah, and then
I got a boat on the top.
Oh no! You make it on the river, of course?
yeah, you got 5 full.
Straight, but how do you have 5 full?
5, 3, 6, 7.
So the player on my left shows king queen for kings full of queens on the bottom board. We obviously have fives full of sevens. The player to my right shows that he had a straight on the top, and we needed that board to pair or else we were dead. So we do win half the pot of $1,490, which means that we profit about 290-ish in this hand. Was a really fun hand to play, but again, we coolered the player on my right. And yeah, let's go! If you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you very much. Since it is my first ever poker vlog, I am completely open to any feedback you can provide. I actually look forward to it. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit that like, subscribe, leave a comment. Again, would really appreciate your feedback. Let me know what you guys want to see, what I can do different. And all right, thanks again. Okay, in the next hand, we pick up queen clubs, queen of diamonds. We have about 900-ish to start the hand, which means that we're very deep given the stakes. The cutoff opens to 15. The small blind calls, and I have to put in a 3-bet here. Thinking back to it, I should have made it bigger. I 3-bet to 45. I should have made it, 60 to 70 minimum, because there is a caller in between, and I'm out of position to the cutoff. But in this case, I didn't need to, because after the cutoff calls, the small blind actually 4-bets to 160. This is kind of interesting because what would the small blind be calling with and then 4-betting after? It's important to mention that the small blind, the player in the small blind, doesn't ever 4-bet knowing him. So for that reason, I just call. Maybe I should have 5-bet, which would have prevented the cutoff from coming in, but because I only called, the cutoff is in the hand as well, so we're off to a flop, which comes 8 of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, and the 4 of spades. With 480 in the middle, the small blind leads here for 100. I look over at the cutoff and I notice they don't have much left given the size of the pot. So I think back again to why the small blind will be leading for such a small value, only 20% of the pot. And in my experience, when players call a raise pre-flop and then 4-bet after a 3-bet has been placed, it's usually to protect their hand, which in my experience is usually ace high or ace king in specifically. Obviously they could be betting small here with jacks or kings or aces, but again, I know this player and they wouldn't be betting that small if they had a big overpair with a diamond, for example, or a big overpair in general. So for that reason, and given the fact that the cutoff doesn't really have that much left, I jam the rest of my stack, which is about 700 or so, maybe less. I know it's a very big overbet compared to the size of the pot, but I do have the queen of diamonds, and I do think I'm best here. And it doesn't really matter what the cutoff has at this point because, like I said, they don't have much left. So the cutoff does indeed call, and the player in the small blind does sigh and then put in a call, which is not really good news for us because that means that they probably have kings or aces. So the main pot goes up to about 700 or less, and the side pot blows up because the small blind has the same size stack as I do, give or take. And we're off to a turn and river. I'm thinking in my head we really gotta dodge diamonds. I feel like that's the main draw here. If the small blind does have ace king, it would be ace king of diamonds, or else they wouldn't call. That's the best case scenario, honestly. So the turn and river come, the 5 of spades, and then the queen of spades. So we river a set. I am so sure we needed that, so I turn over my hand confidently, thinking that we scooped it all. But then the cutoff shows Jack 9 offsuit. So that means they rivered what is pretty much the nuts, and they were in there from the beginning into a 4-bet pot with Jack 9. They are crazy, but they deserve the pot for this one. They stuck it till the end, and they were rewarded for it. And you know, we do love players that provide that kind of action, so I'm happy to lose the main pot here. The small blind turns over kings, so we were really in bad shape from the get-go, and we definitely needed that queen on the river. So after all is said and done, we actually end up pretty much break even on the hand because the side pot was so big. We may have lost a few dollars or so, but we're not unhappy because we didn't really lose any money. And yeah, and that's poker. I feel bad for the small blind, but that's how it goes. In the next hand, we pick up jacks of the diamond and club variety. The under the gun player raises to 11. This is a weird raise. This player always raises to either 15 or 20. So the $11 kind of indicates that they might be weak and not very strong with their holding. So when it folds to me, I 3-bet from the cutoff to 40. And the under the gun player calls. This might mean that they have a very middling pair or suited connectors, or they may not even be suited. They just might be cards that he likes to play. So the flop comes 2 of diamonds, 8 of clubs, and the 9 of clubs. It's heads up, and we flop an overpair and some backdoor straight and flush draws. And even though the flop doesn't connect too much with our range as the 3-better, when the under the gun player checks it over to me, I do throw out a small bet of 30 in there because we do have a good hand, and it does sort of connect pretty well with the flop. So when I put out a bet of 30 out there, the under the gun player actually does put in a raise to 70. Now he could do this with club draws, 2 pair, a set, but given our hand, I think there are a lot of turn cards that could help us out quite a bit. And knowing this player as well, I know he can be very aggressive when he thinks he sees weakness. And given the fact that I only threw out a bet of 30 into a pot of more than 80, he could have seen it as an opportunity to really capitalize on what's supposed to be his range, right? So with that said, I do put in the call for 40 more, and we're off to a turn. The turn is the 10 of clubs, bringing in the front door flush draw as well as some straight draws from the flop. But also this is a really good card for us because now we have a straight flush draw. So even if we are behind here, there are almost too many outs for us of going to the river. With that said, though, what's interesting is the under the gun player decides to just instantly jam. It was like right away as soon as the card came out. I find this to be a bit fishy. I know the under the gun player. I played with him a few times, and I know that when he does jam for big amounts or for pot-sized amounts, it's not a nutted hand most of the time anyway. So with that said, and given all the draws that I already have, given the fact that I do have the jack of clubs, I do stick in the call for 170, and we go off to a river which comes a king. He turns over his hand. It's ace-9, so essentially he raised me on the flop with top pair with an ace kicker, and we were good the entire way. So we scooped this one up. It was a pot of 560 bucks, and we made the right decision there. Couple of hands later, we pick up black 10s under the gun. We have 1100 to start in our stack, and I open it up to 15. I get 3 callers around the table, and we go off to a flop of queen 3 with 2 spades. There's no point in me betting here because with 4 players in the hand, either one of them could have a queen easily. So I check, and then it proceeds to check all the way around, and the turn brings in the 4 of hearts. So I feel kind of comfortable now that I can bet because I was first to check on the flop and no one proceeded to bet. If they had a queen, I feel like they would. And in this case, since there are 2 spades and 2 hearts out there, there are a few draws that I can get some value out of. So I decide to bet out here for 30, which is about a half-sized pot bet. And we get 1 caller in the cutoff. So the river comes a king of clubs. It breaks out all draws that were on the flop and on the turn. The spade draw, the flush draw, all straight draws, 5-2, 6-5 that would have called us on the turn. And one thing to note here is that the cutoff is a player that I play with frequently. I know that he loves to play his draws. So when everything breaks out, I think it's important to give him a chance to bluff at the pot, given that it's very likely that he's missed. So that's just what I do. I check it over to him, and he, in suit, follows up with a nearly pot-sized bet of 105. There's not much really for me to think about here. I pretty much snap him off with my pair of 10s, and he shows 5 deuce off. So he did, in fact, have one of the hands that we thought he would have in this spot. And we end up scooping a $340 pot. So we lose a couple of small pots before we pick up aces, ace of hearts and the ace of clubs, and our starting stack here is about 900 or so. And we are in the big blind. There is a middle position open to 30. It folds to me, and I 3-bet to 100. Looking back at it now, I definitely should have made it bigger. I should have popped it up to at least 130, maybe even 140. And for that reason, I believe the middle position player calls, because it wasn't that big of a 3-bet, and they are in position. So we are going to a flop heads up with 200 in the middle. And the flop comes king 6-7 with 2 hearts. We have an overpair with a backdoor flush draw. I lead out here for a bet of 115 into a pot of 200. Trying to get value from any king, possibly even ace king that was slow played pre-flop. Any heart draws, any straight draws. We do lose to a couple of sets here, like 6s and 7s, kings being very unlikely because there's no 4-bet pre-flop. But for that reason, we do beat a lot more hands here than that we lose to, so that's the reason that I throw out a bet. But then the middle position player jams for 700. Now, this is a giant raise. It's a giant jam. The pot was only about 300 with my raise, so him jamming here is very interesting. And looking back at it and thinking about it at the time as well, what could a player be putting so much money in the middle for here if they have a nutted hand? If someone is nutted up, they wouldn't really be jamming here. They trying to either slow play, or if they are gonna raise it, if for example they had a set, I don't think they'd be putting in 700, more than a 2x the pot size bet here. So this kind of tripped me up at the time, so it got me thinking, and I look at my cards, and I do have the ace of hearts here, and I'm thinking, you know what, I think I might be good here, because I think he has a draw, or he's overplaying a king. Maybe he's trying to protect a hand, and honestly, I thought I was good. So for that reason, I do put in the call for 700. It creates a $1,600 pot, and we agree to run it twice. The middle position player shows queen deuce of hearts, so we were ahead, we were right, but this isn't a really pleasant spot to be in. So we're off to the first board, which comes the king of clubs. It's a safe card. We got only one more card to sweat out, and it comes out the 3 of hearts, giving him the flush on the first board. We're so sick. I'm so sick. It sucks so bad, but it's okay. We got one more board to go. Half the pot is already guaranteed to the middle position player. And the turn on the second board, right away comes the 9 of hearts. I'm so sick, but we still have an out to another heart. I know there's so many out there already, and We're trying pretty slim, but I'm like praying for another heart. Like, even if it's like the last heart in the deck, please, like, heart of the cards, make it come out, please. And it comes out the 3 of clubs. So we lose a gigantic pot with pocket aces to queen deuce. It's our fault for, you know, raising so light pre-flop, but whatever, it's how it goes. We're gonna cooler other people in the future. People are gonna cooler us. It's gonna happen. Anyway, let me know what you guys would have done with aces there on the flop, whether or not you would have folded to a $700 jam or you would have called as well. Anyway, thanks again for watching my first ever vlog, and catch you in the future. See ya.